Thank you for listening to the Afternoon Pint. We are an independent podcast and we need your support. Please take a moment to hit that like, follow, and share button. Email us if you have an idea or suggestion for the show. Please send your feedback. We'd love to hear from you.
Hey there. We're still away on summer break, but we wanted to introduce to you episode 2 of the new podcast we're working on called Dark Harbour. The first episode did fantastic with downloads and comments and engagement. Great to see. We hope you enjoy episode 2 here that we're going to play for you. Also, please, if you haven't already, head over to Dark Harbour Podcast. Please subscribe. It's Canadian, so Harbour is spelled Harbour. So that's it. Enjoy.
This episode contains discussion of homicide, violence, and disturbing details that may be difficult for some listeners. September 21st, 1992. A 20-year-old Acadia University student is seen walking along Main Street in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. He's wearing blue jeans, a purple t-shirt, a baseball cap, and carrying a red and black backpack. A friend waves as they pass. Nothing appears unusual. No one knows that it'll be the last confirmed sighting of Kenley Matheson. 30 years later, no body has been found, no one has been charged, and one of Nova Scotia's most endearing mysteries remains unsolved. Welcome to Dark Harbour.
Welcome back, everybody, to Dark Harbour. Carrie, I am excited to do this episode here today. This is our second episode.
Yes.
And we are going to be talking about the disappearance of Kenley Matheson.
Yes, this is one right away when we started talking about podcasts that we wanted to do. I was like, we have to do this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because it's still such a huge mystery. There's so many different theories about it. Yeah, there's just so much to talk about with this one. So many questions. Yeah. And if anybody is familiar with this case, or you've heard about it, or you remember it, because it was back in 1992.
Yeah.
You know, there are some great podcasts out there, and there is a great docu-series called Missing Kenley, right?
Yes, it's on Prime.
It's on Prime here in Canada. And yeah, it's a really good 5-part documentary series. So that's out there to watch. And I've watched it, and I rewatched it, and you did too, right?
Yes, I rewatched it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's, you hear about all the different stuff that went on with the case and whatnot. So it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting.
It is. It's really interesting. So
who was Kenley Matheson? Kenley Matheson was 20 years old when he disappeared. Friends and family described him as intelligent, friendly, shy, and an introvert. He was known for his big warm smile and was often seen wearing the same baseball cap. Kenley was a night owl and loved adventure. He enjoyed traveling and exploring new places. People who knew him say he had close relationships with his family. One thing that stands out in many descriptions of Kenley is his love of travel and exploration. Years later, some people would suggest he may have voluntarily disappeared. Those closest to him strongly reject this theory.
And I wanted to ask you about that too. I know, and I think you're probably going to tell us more about the different theories about what happened to him. But I think where he did do some travel, that was a really popular one, right?
That was the big one. Everyone just assumed that he went off to travel.
Right.
But, anybody that knew him knew there was no way he would just up and leave without telling anybody. Mm-hmm. He was really close with his family, and, it's just like me or you. We're not just going to go up and go travel and not tell anyone, right?
Yeah.
Even though he was an introvert, he would let his family know where he is.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the big thing that everybody says about him is like he wouldn't have left for that long without reaching out to his family or touching base at some point.
Yeah, exactly. As one person familiar with the case stated, people assume Kenley simply took off to travel and explore. but there's no way he would have done that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't. Of all the theories about Kenley, yes, he loved to travel. He did some really cool stuff, some traveling, and biked across the country. He did some really cool stuff, like from a young age, because
he had like a lot on his belt, like with the traveling.
He did,
for such a young person.
He did. He was graduated high school, and he was from Inverness.
Yes,
Cape Breton for anybody listening. So going from little place in Inverness County, Cape Breton, to going to South America and getting a motorbike and biking across the country. It's
I would have loved
cool
to sit down and talk to him about his travel.
Yeah,
it would have been pretty cool.
Yeah,
I love like listening to people's travel stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, despite enrolling at university, Kenley reportedly wasn't particularly excited about attending. According to Karine, he was worried about Frosh Week and the initiation culture surrounding it.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people are. Like, there are some, kids that are going to university.
Yeah.
It's like, Frosh Week.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, bring it on. I'm going to get drunk, whatever. But with him, it seemed like he was more nervous about it.
Yeah, like he was known to be, like, they call him like very introverted. So that would have not been his vibe.
No,
to be in that Frosh Week, because that's a wild week.
And I mean, think about it. You're coming from a small town, and I mean, let's be honest. Acadia is in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. It's also another small town, but it's a big university town. So I mean, he's going to be with different people,
all new people.
Yeah. So it's for someone who is an introvert, that would be scary.
It would be. It'd be really overwhelming, and just it sounds like he probably just wanted to kind of get through that first Frosh Week and all the partying stuff, and then kind of just
let's get to work on school kind of thing.
Get back to school and get back to focusing. And
Karine actually recalled him joking that she could simply drop him off at the airport on the way rather than bring him to school. I'm pretty sure he wanted to do that.
I think he might have, yeah.
So during his first weeks at Acadia, Kenley became friends with Tom Gordon. He was a British exchange student, and Kristen Tomlinson. The group spent time together driving around Annapolis Valley and visiting various sites throughout the area. At the time of his disappearance, Kenley had only been at Acadia for approximately 2 weeks, so his social circle was extremely small and still developing.
And that's what, like when looking at this case, like even when I rewatched the documentary and everything, I don't know if you've thought this, but I kept saying he was only there for a couple of weeks.
Like he was 3 literally weeks, there just for 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2-3 weeks when he disappeared. So he was really just meeting these people.
Yeah, he was just getting his feet wet.
Yeah, because with Tom Gordon and Kristen Tomlinson, like they had just met. They didn't know each other prior. So they were brand new friends. Yeah.
Yeah. So because he was new to the campus, investigators would later have difficulty determining what constituted his normal behavior for him because they didn't really know him and what might have been unusual for him. So nobody really knew him. So except for, of course, his sister and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, you can't really just say, well, this could happen, that could happen, because they didn't really know him at this point.
Yeah, exactly. He was just in those beginning stages of making friends. But he did hit it off with those two in particular, like Tom Gordon and Kirsten. They seemed to hit it off.
Yeah.
And they ended up didn't they do a trip or something?
Yeah. So before his disappearance, Kenley spent part of the weekend trip on Corcoran Island with friends. So what I believe is Kristen's family has a cottage or a house there.
Yes, that's right.
He fell in love with it, and they were out on the water, boating and all of that. And it was just their little getaway. And so they spent time there. So he returned to Acadia afterwards, continued attending social events during Frosh Week. The trip later would be one of the several events investigators examined while attempting to reconstruct his final days. When he was there, he literally didn't want to go. He was like, let's just have one more boat. Like, let's go out in the boat one more time. Like, he was really almost like saying, let's just spend more time here. He didn't want to rush back to university.
Yeah, because I think they said that they ended up staying in like longer into that day that they were heading back to Acadia.
Exactly.
So I think they ended up like going back out on the boat or water skis or what, just enjoying their time there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just being on the water and everything. And yeah, it seemed like he really liked that. So it was nice. Like he had just met these friends and then she said, hey, do you guys want to come up to my home or her family's home there right on the water? Beautiful. And
Looked like a gorgeous spot.
It looks stunning.
Yeah.
And that comes back in a interesting twist later too, the Corcoran's Island and who was there.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot to this story. It's quite interesting.
It is.
Even though he was only there for 2 weeks, it seems like a lot happened in that 2 weeks.
I feel like a lot happened. Yeah.
So the days before he vanished, September 17th, 1992, a fellow student named Chris Hartley crossed paths with Kenley. Chris and Kenley had attended high school together and were now both attending Acadia. So at least he had somebody he knew from high school, which was good.
Definitely.
Chris later recalled seeing Kenley coming from an unusual area on the outskirts of town and heading back towards the university. He remembered Kenley seeming unusually quiet and withdrawn. Chris felt he wasn't acting like himself. Another detail struck Chris as strange. Kenley appeared to be doing laundry, yet he didn't have a laundry bag and wasn't waiting around for his laundry. That was always a big thing with that because
that sighting.
Yeah. They were like, what is he doing?
Yeah. And I think this is something that was passed on to police in the earlier days, I believe, like this sighting of Kenley. But some of this like the quote unquote sightings, you have to, it's been a long time.
It has been.
So you have to question, like, are people remembering things right?
Yeah.
But I think that one was, that was reported early on, which is really strange. Yeah. Because why would he be, and he was walking in the other direction, like not back towards campus.
Right. And he came from like a weird spot out of the woods almost.
Yeah. Like the back of Wolfville. So behind Wolfville. So Wolfville's in the Annapolis Valley. I grew up in Kentville, which is 2 towns over, we'll say. And so behind Wolfville, though, is basically what's called the dikes. So the dike system, where there's just, fields and water and like I used to walk on them with my dog. I don't really know how to explain.
Yeah.
But so it's like, you have your town and then there's just nature.
Yeah.
Like directly behind it.
So it's like, maybe he was going for a walk. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
Years later, Chris continued to question why Kenley had been on Main Street that day. So it ended up Chris offered him a ride. The two decided to stop at the NSLC, where Kenley purchased a 6-pack of beer before returning towards the campus. So, they, of course, it's Frosh week. They're all like, let's party, kind of thing. So
yeah, it's like, hey, I'm going to get a 6-pack and do you want to ride? Kind of thing.
Exactly.
Because of a lot of Acadia is up a hill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is.
So it's kind of like when you're down in town, it's like, hey, you want to ride up the hill, the hill. So people say up the hill a lot, especially the residence that he lived in, the tower. It's kind of like, at the very top.
It's very top. It's quite up there.
Yeah.
So September 18th, 1992, a large party took place in residence. According to accounts from students, the gathering began on Kenley's floor before eventually spreading throughout the tower. Witnesses recalled that Kenley had been drinking heavily. He reportedly consumed alcohol before the party even started, which I'm thinking calm his nerves.
Maybe calm his nerves, but also, like, I went to university. That's not abnormal.
Exactly.
To be, like everybody if the party's starting in the evening, like,
you're going to pre-drink.
You're going to pre-drink. That's just what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have a few before you hit wherever you were going to hit, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But maybe it was nerves too. Maybe to make them more relaxed.
Yeah, I can see that. If you're an introvert and then all of a sudden you have to be out there, like you're going to, like, let's have some alcohol to loosen me up a little bit.
Yeah.
So several people later described what they saw as a significant change in his personality. Normally shy and reserved, Kenley appeared outgoing and highly intoxicated. Been there, done that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it probably, I really do think, like, just to kind of loosen things up, because without alcohol, he sounds like a pretty reserved, quiet guy. So
keep to himself kind of thing. And now he wants to fit in because everybody else is doing it, right?
So, and he might have overdone it a little.
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds like he might have overdone it. We've all been there.
Yeah. Some people recalled him speaking with women who already had boyfriends. So he got a little brave. Looking back, some people wondered whether something occurred that night. May have been something significant.
I hope you're enjoying a pint with us. We'll be right back. Your dream home does not have to be just a dream. Today's show is brought to you by Camilla Najat of Exit Realty Metro. Camilla is the realtor who knows how to get things done. Buying or selling? Go to afternoonpint.ca and we will help with a personal introduction. That's afternoonpint.ca/Camilla to make your dreams become a reality.
Yeah. And it could have been because there was, again, I'm going to talk about the documentary a lot, Missing Kenley. But people did say like he was definitely like, I think he had his arm around somebody's girlfriend and was kind of like leaning on her.
Really flirting.
Yeah, really kind of flirting. And I think like somebody, at least one person had to say, hey, bud, like
that's
get out
my
of here.
girlfriend. Yeah.
So that might have rubbed people the wrong way. And it did. But I mean, again, does it play into this?
Yeah, and they're just young. They're having fun. They have some drinks in them. People get wild. I know I have. I got stories I could tell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we both do, for sure. But I don't think and I think with this, like they might not have looked so closely at like him putting his arm around the girl and hitting on the girls at the party, except this is all they had for him.
Exactly.
Because they didn't know him.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep, exactly. So the final weekend was September 20th, 1992. At approximately 1:15, Kenley withdrew $20 from an ATM on Main Street in Wolfville. Later that afternoon, around 4, his sister Corrine visited him. She later remembered him being unusually quiet. Looking back years later, she wondered whether he seemed remorseful about something that happened.
Maybe the party.
He's probably hungover.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. At the time, however, there was nothing specific that raised alarms. She thought it was just normal. Before leaving, the two made plans to meet on Monday evening to work on school assignments together. I believe they were in a class together.
They did.
Chemistry.
Yeah, I think it was chemistry. Yeah, they did have a class together. And then, so when she saw him this day on the 20th, September 20th, 92, they planned to meet like two days later, I think.
It was the next day.
Or was it the next
Monday
day?
Night.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so they planned to meet
to get some schoolwork done.
Yeah, exactly, to study together.
Yeah. So that same evening at around 9 p.m., residence advisor Tom Barker knocked on Kenley's door. According to accounts, Kenley barely opened the door. So apparently he only opened it just a crack. He was kind of acting a little strange.
Yeah, he was definitely
like almost
standoffish.
Yes, like very standoffish.
Yeah, it wasn't like a swing the door open.
Like, come
on in, buddy. Like
exactly.
And he said he was ironing or something too.
Yeah.
Is that the one? Like, yeah, when they looked back at this, it said that he opened the door a crack and it looked like he was ironing a shirt, which everyone's like, well, that's weird. But then his family's like, no, he ironed his shirts.
Yeah, he was a big ironer.
Yeah. And then later on, years later, he says, no, I didn't see him ironing. So anyway, whether he was ironing or not, I don't know if that matters.
Nobody knows.
But it's just, again, time can really change your memory and what you remember. And
20, 30 years later, like trying to remember things.
Yeah,
I barely remember what I had for breakfast. So
I couldn't tell you.
September 21st, 1992 is the last confirmed day that anybody saw Kenley. So he attended classes throughout the week of his disappearance, but on September 21st, he did not attend his chemistry class. At some point during the day, his mom called the residence just regarding some mail that had arrived for him at the house. The person who answered reportedly told her that Kenley had gone down for supper. One of the most important sightings came from Tom Gordon. He was the British exchange student that Kenley was hanging out with.
Yeah.
Tom reportedly seeing Kenley walking on Main Street. They exchanged a little wave. Everything appeared normal. Tom later stated that that was the last time he or anyone else saw Kenley.
And that was on
September
21st. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the last known sighting.
Yep.
Confirmed sighting.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Right.
So according to investigators, Kenley was wearing his blue jeans, purple t-shirt, his famous ball cap that he always liked to wear.
Yes, always wore a ball cap.
And he was always seen with this red and black backpack.
Mm-hmm.
After that sighting, he just disappeared.
Yeah, which is just...
That's what I always found really odd is, I think that's what stuck with me with this case is he just vanished. There's no body, no sightings, no nothing, no phone calls, no anything. And I mean, there wouldn't be any texting. There's no social media back then.
Exactly. So you saw somebody when you saw somebody.
Exactly. It was like, hey, whatever. So, yeah.
And I don't think they had, they didn't have, in the dorms either. They didn't have, some people had their own private line. But I think generally the number that you would call, when his mom was calling him, that was a floor number. So for floor 9, which was his floor, I think. Yeah. There would have been a common phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, unless you
had your own phone in your room, but most of them didn't. They would just call the residents and somebody would answer and say, okay. And
go find the person.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they would know where they are or whatever. So Corrine and Kenley had plans to meet Monday evening to study. Kenley never showed up. So September 22nd, he failed to attend class.
Right.
September 23rd, still absent. That's when the concerns started to grow.
Right. Yeah.
Corrine began asking questions like, what is going on here?
Yeah. So he wasn't seen. Nobody saw him. But then, maybe he's, sleeping in, or maybe I just missed him. Because like you said, you're not going to be texting, or you're not going to have that close a contact.
Exactly. So they would knock on each other's doors kind of thing. That's how they kept in touch kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So she started asking friends whether they had seen him. No one had. Eventually, she and another student went to Kenley's room, which is room 904. There's been notes left on the door, of course, the one from his mom, because she had called, and then another one that said, call your sister. So the resident advisor, Todd Barker, reportedly approached them and expressed concern. I always found this a little odd. He stated he wasn't sure what they might find behind the door, because he too had not seen Kenley for several days.
Yeah, what kind
Why would he say that?
Yeah, that always struck me as really again, red flags. Why would you say that?
And to his sister.
Yeah, to his family. I know. And there's been, people have kind of hesitated on him, and there were some weird things, but that's an odd thing to say to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, number one, he doesn't know him.
Right. He barely knows him.
Just met 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And why is that the first thing, that you would insinuate you're going to find something bad? Insinuating what I think is obviously suicide or something.
Yeah. That's kind of what they were alluding to. And you don't say that.
No, what a strange thing to say. If
and
anything,
to his sister at that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That was a red flag for me.
Me too. Time. That bothered me. I was like, why would that be the first thing? No, we haven't seen him, but why would you instantly go to that?
Go right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he's on another floor partying with somebody.
You know what I mean? Maybe he went for a hike. Who knows, right? Don't assume the worst kind of thing.
Yeah. He could be literally anywhere, but to say that was strange.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the investigation initially involved local police before later involving, of course, the RCMP. So from the beginning, they faced major obstacles. Think about it. There was no crime scene.
Right.
No body. No eyewitnesses to assault. No eyewitnesses to abduction. And no physical evidence. He just, poof, vanished.
He just, and they really did so it was a Wolfville RCMP, which was just a very small rural police department. They took it on as a missing person. So it wasn't processed the same.
Right.
Because nothing was quote unquote suspicious. Everybody leaned into, oh, well, he maybe just wanted to go to South America again or get on the motorbike and travel again. he just took off somewhere. But
yeah.
So there was no evidence, like there's nothing processed. The room wasn't taped off. There was nothing taken. So it wasn't treated like a crime scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody just assumed he was off doing something and he'll just show up.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, his family knows that's not what he would normally do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And in hindsight, the RCMP got involved way too late.
Oh, big time.
But at the same time, they didn't really know what they were dealing with. So they didn't treat it as such. But I think, again, the documentary, they do sound regretful of that. Like I found the officers were just like, we didn't process it like that. We should have. But when you really think about it at the time, it's like, oh, well, he'll show up in a couple days.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's unfortunate, though.
It is really unfortunate. And of course, with no evidence, it totally complicates the case immediately. Like what are you supposed to investigate? Another major challenge involved conflicting witness statements. Several timelines emerged that did not fully agree with one another, which was another big thing. If you don't have a good timeline, it's hard to find someone or know what's going on. So, some witnesses claimed, oh, we saw Kenley later than others.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a little odd.
It was odd. And it was probably, good chance that it was likely due to just misremembering. Yeah. Because I think people were like, no, like I saw him this day. Oh, actually, no, I think it was the next day. Or so it was kind of back and forth. I mean, they're busy again. Like
they're just starting university.
Like it's a fun environment. There's a lot going on. It's in residence. There's partying. There's new people. There's new classes. So, the fact that, I don't think it's surprising.
No.
But you do have to look at that as like, is that a red flag? Is that suspicious?
Exactly. And of course, years later, some witness revised and contradicted their earlier statements.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about it. Like I said, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast today. I'm not going to remember something from 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I thought too. Like they do look into, these, witness accounts and say like, years later, like, oh no, like he didn't have his hat or what, whatever it was. But you have to remember, like, this was such a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a snapshot in time that nobody was concerned about in the first few days.
Right. Because they're, when you just go to university, as you're focused on like, I get to meet people. And, oh God, I got to get to my classes and, whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. Or you're walking down the street and you go, oh, there's Kenley. Like, like I said, give him a wave, carry on. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe he was or wasn't wearing the ball cap.
Who knows?
Whatever else changed in those statements. Because it was kind of like, if I remember correctly, it was details like that.
Yes, exactly. Just little details.
Details. Yeah.
So one particular important issue involved a residence advisor who initially reported seeing Kenley on the night he disappeared, but later stated that he actually might have seen him the previous evening.
Oh, that was the one. So that's the Todd Barker, the RA resident assistant. Yeah, that was the one that really so he said, oh no, like I saw him that night. So he was, the night he was known to be disappeared, the last known sighting. Then he's like, no, I saw him that night. Right. So his friend Tom Gordon had seen him. That was a confirmed sighting.
Yep.
Downtown there.
Yeah. Right on Main Street.
Yep. And then that was all they knew. And then, so this Todd Barker, he goes in and says, well, no, I saw him that night.
Right.
Which didn't make sense. But then he
says to his sister, you don't know what you're going to find behind there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very bizarre.
And then he contradicted by saying like, oh, actually, no, that must have been the other night.
Yeah.
So his timeline was a little off. And then he said that weird thing.
And I didn't like that. So it was totally inconsistencies happening all around. And it all stemmed from the timing. If you think about it. So they need to have a timing to kind of build their case and see what's going on. So
yeah, exactly.
And remember, Kenley had only been at Acadia for 2 weeks.
Right.
His social circle was still developing. He was an introvert, so he wasn't very outgoing. He knew he had the two friends, one guy from high school.
Yep.
And he had a very small circle there. So,
yeah,
they hadn't established any of his routines that they could use as reference points because he didn't really have any at that point.
No, exactly.
So,
and people didn't really know him. Like, I know we keep going back to that, but it's like, you do have to think about this in this case. Like,
yeah,
he was literally there for 2 weeks. And yeah, so there isn't, I think that's a good point. Like, no established routine. Things were just starting.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Like they hadn't even done their 2 full weeks of classes really yet, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Some observers believe that because people initially assumed he may have left, voluntarily, that valuable urgency was lost during the first critical days.
Absolutely.
And I think that really messed up the whole thing because people just assumed that he probably went for a hike or he went to travel or he just went to go be by himself. And, but to me, it never sat well.
No. And again, where the room was just kind of a free for all, basically, like people were going in and out.
Yeah.
There were, he was a smoker, so he had like cigarette butts in there.
Yeah.
And then, I know Tom Martin was the private investigator that was on the documentary, retired detective, now private investigator. And, he said like, would love to have those cigarette butts for DNA now.
Right.
Like, was it just Kenley? Like,
or was it somebody else's?
Who was with him? And again, I think just more so firming up that timeline. Was there somebody else there?
I think there was.
Yeah.
Like I really do.
I think a lot was lost in that. Again, the flip side of it, they didn't know, but I don't know, like out of the gate, let's just assume worst.
Yeah.
Which sucks, but also
exactly.
Let's preserve this until we can confirm that this individual is okay. They're safe. They're found.
Yep.
And I feel like we do treat missing stuff.
I know.
People, differently now.
We do now compared to back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like big time.
Yeah.
So, of course, there's a bunch of theories. So, voluntary disappearance is the big one.
Yeah.
So, they considered whether he left on his own. Like I said, one witness reportedly saw him walking towards the bus station. There was no obvious signs of violence at all, but there's significant problems with this theory. Kenley left behind every aspect of his life. Here's the interesting thing. His bank account contained almost $4,200 and it was never touched again.
No, that last withdrawal is when we talked about
$20.
Was that $20?
Yeah.
And this,
And then just $4,200, we'll say, was never touched again.
Never touched again. And his passport.
Exactly.
So his passport was in his dorm.
So there's no way he left the country. Even if he went on foot, he would have needed to have some money for food.
You'd need more than $20 if you're leaving the country.
Big time. So,
and he had the money there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's probably still sitting there today.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So never contacted his family or friends. He had no plans to disappear. So I think this is unlikely. I really do. I don't think he just all of a sudden just said, I'm just going to go frig off now and bye,
Yeah, like he just started school too. But I think, small town and, this guy's worldly. He's a quote unquote traveler. But it's like, does that really make sense here though? Like it doesn't. You would need money. Like, I mean, I could see if they were like, okay, look, like he drained his account and his passport's gone.
Exactly.
You know what? I would go by that theory all day long.
Yeah.
And think and hope he was somewhere living it up and just decided to. But again, I agree. I don't really like that theory.
No, I didn't like that one either.
No.
So of course the next one was accident or suicide. So the investigators also considered whether Kenley suffered an accident or died by suicide. I mean, as you know, the terrain around Wolfville is wooded, ravines, cliffs, remote locations.
Yeah.
In theory, someone could disappear in that terrain for sure.
Yeah. You could go off hiking. I mean, you've got the Bay of Fundy there.
Yes.
With the highest tides in the world.
Yep.
Who's to say if he didn't walk out into the water or gets pulled in, anything like that is possible. No body has ever been found though.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's impossible, I guess.
Right.
But
they've also been searching all those areas for decades and never found anything.
So I agree though. Like, I do think it's definitely a possibility. And really same with like the suicide theory, because in the documentary, it does talk about, it sounds like he really did suffer from some depression.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had like some hospital visits. Yeah. I remember. So he was hospitalized for like low mood, things like that. His mom said too, like that she had bipolar.
Yes.
So I don't know if he had anything like officially diagnosed. And again, things weren't always...
You don't really talk about that back then. This was the 90s.
Yeah. Like,
you know what I mean? Like, it's not like it is now where people talk openly about their depression and their anxiety and bipolar and whatever else. Back then, and especially for a guy.
Yes,
that's
definitely.
Like a faux pas. They don't want to look like they're weak or anything. So...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of that stigma around it, but he obviously... suffered with something that was reoccurring. And I think his sister even made mention of this. Kareen made mention of he would take like a quiet week here and there at their cottage.
Yes.
Where he would just kind of need to go and like turn off, like just kind of tune out, be by himself, like work on a project, fixing a boat or something, and just be alone and kind of decompress. So, I thought a lot about the suicide theory.
I did too, but I don't know.
It's a tough one.
I have my theories. I really do. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, there's a few other ones here, but again, like I feel like I worry about his mental health.
Me too.
Like, I feel like there was something there he was struggling with, which is really sad. And I don't know if he was getting all the help that he needed, if he even knew to ask for it. So I kind of go down.
He seemed shy. Like, he was shy. So he's not going to ask for it. And, and people wouldn't really suggest it.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was not out there.
The 90s were so different than this decade. That's for sure.
Yeah. And this is a small town too. Like, he came from a small town and then he moved to another small town. And, growing up there, there were, people from all over going to Acadia, of course.
Yes, of course.
But it's still a very small university in a very small town. And small towns are small towns. They have their challenges. They're beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
There's pros, but there's definitely cons.
There's definitely cons, for sure. And of course, the hazing theory. They focus on the possible, Frosh Week hazing incident. Like, he was extremely concerned about Frosh Week before even like arriving at Acadia. Some wondered whether initiation related event could have played a role in this, but no evidence has ever emerged to support that theory. So
and I wondered about that too, and I actually had read that as well as seen that discussed, and I actually had to look up hazing. So it's kind of like...
Yeah, read us what hazing says.
Yeah, so I had to look up the definition because I was like, I think I know what it is.
I think so. But...
Yeah, so it's kind of, any kind of, intentional or reckless action expected of someone joining or participating in a group that humiliates, degrades, abuses, endangers them. So it's kind of like, it can occur like in a hierarchy type situation where, I don't know how this... Sorry, we're going to cut this part out. Okay, so hazing so when I looked it up, it's commonly associated with fraternities, sororities. Hazing occurs across many, different types of organizations.
Absolutely.
Sports teams and stuff like that. So it's basically just like, kind of getting them to do things that they normally wouldn't do, or like some kind of an initiation or something. Yeah.
And back then, like, it's embarrassing. Like, you don't want anybody to make fun of you. You don't want people to make you do things that you normally wouldn't, because it's, then I have to show my face around here. It's an embarrassing kind of thing. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, foul play. Foul play became one of the most discussed possibilities. Several individuals connected to the case and made statements suggesting they knew more than they originally told investigators.
Yeah.
Allegations emerged that a former student privately admitted involvement in his death.
Which is wild.
Which is wild. And why was that not looked into a little bit more?
Right.
Once again, it's the 90s. So,
Yeah, this stuff kind of came up later because I'm sure I don't want to jump in on you here. I think you're going to talk about it. But, Yeah, there was like these statements came out, and how many years later was it though that all this stuff kind of came out of this admission?
It was like several years later.
It was several years later. Yeah, because it was the family of this individual who admitted to doing something. They're the ones that came forward, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, of course, other individuals reportedly claim to have heard variations of the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Suggestions surfaced that Kenley's body had been hidden in a remote area.
Mm.
So was that just someone saying that just to get attention? But hello, you get yourself in trouble. Like,
right.
What are you doing? Like, you can get kicked out of school. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
So they became a major focus of the investigation and the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So no one was ever charged and they remain unproven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the person of interest. So in the Kenley documentary, introduced a previously unnamed suspect. The documentary reported allegations that multiple family members heard statements suggesting involvement in Kenley's death and the disposal of his body.
Mm-hmm.
The series also examined a possible connection between Kenley and
our favorite Nova Scotia serial killer, Andrew Paul Johnson. No, he's not our favorite.
He's not our favorite, but if you listen to our previous episode, we talked about him in that. So, yeah, I don't think there is. No. I think they're grasping at straws at that one.
I think it's grasping. The connection I think that was made with that was that Corcomb's Island trip that Kenley went on with his two friends there that he made at Acadia.
Yep.
They went to the Corcomb's Island. And the reason Andrew Paul Johnson got pulled into it was because he was camping there that weekend.
Right.
And there was a question of whether he was actually at that family home because there were two guests over for dinner, a man, a guy, and a man and a woman, I guess, a couple or something. And they think that was him.
Yeah.
But that's never been
proven or anything.
Yeah.
So, they did explore if maybe he did cross paths with him shortly before his disappearance.
Mm-hmm.
No charges have resulted from that, either of those theories. So, yeah.
And they interview Andrew Paul Johnson in this documentary. And like it's weird to see him because I don't think I knew what he looked like.
Well, when you hear someone's name,
yes,
and then you just automatically get a picture in your head. I always do.
Me too.
And then you see them and you're like, oh, that's not what it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, I don't know what I expected. Probably,
don't know either.
I don't think you ever really know, but I was like, wow, we get to see him because even researching for our first episode, I was looking for pictures of him and they're kind of hard to come by. Like, I think I found one of him like coming out of like a sheriff's van or something with his head down, but I couldn't really find any pictures of him.
Right.
So it was interesting to see him actually speaking in this documentary.
I know, it was a little odd.
Yeah, definitely.
So in 2022, filmmaker Ron Lamoth released the documentary series Missing Kenley. The series re-examined the different timelines. It interviewed witnesses. It explored allegations involving various persons of interest. It investigated possible burial locations. Most importantly, it brought renewed public attention to the case. Although the documentary did not solve the mystery, it generated additional searches and renewed interest in the investigation.
It really did.
It did.
And there is a Facebook page, Finding Kenley, I think it's called.
Yes.
And people are like, I notice I've been on that page for a few years, but people will post there saying like, you know what? I'm headed that way. I'm going to go take a look in these woods. Like
it's very active.
It's a very active group, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think it really did bring that interest back to it because, these things get forgotten over time.
They do.
Time passes, people forget.
And there's some cases that are talked about a lot more than others. And we talked about that in our last episode.
Yeah.
And then I think this is why we gravitate to these cases.
I think so too.
Like we both said, we want them to be talked about, because do we think we're going to be solving these cases? No, but even just stir up the dirt a little bit.
Yeah. So have a conversation. And when so I know you had brought this one up. You're like, I really want to do this one. And I was like, yes, let's do it. Because like I said, I grew up in the Valley in Kentville. So I would have been, I think, around 12 when he disappeared.
Yeah.
But even though I didn't live in Wolfville, I swam there. So my swim team was in Wolfville.
Okay.
Which was at the Acadia University pool.
Right.
And I remember the posters.
Yes.
And I remember going, wow. Like, I remember being there in like the pool in the gym area and thinking, maybe we'll see him.
Right.
Like, I mean, I was 12. Like,
well, you're 12.
I was like 12
you don't know,
or something. Right? But I remember that poster, and I just remember thinking, like, wow, that's so strange. I mean, I'd already
scary but strange.
It was scary, yeah. And I remember because I'd already my gateway drug to true crime was Unsolved Mysteries when I wasn't supposed to be watching it when I was
my God,
way too young, had no business watching it. But yeah, so I remember this spooking me a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the most significant developments occurred in 2023. A journalist arranged a search of Melanson Mountain using a cadaver dog. The search took place on May 23rd and 24th. The dog indicated an area of interest, which I thought was quite interesting, but no human remains were located. Here's the thing. Can that cadaver dog still smell things from that long ago?
I think they can.
I guess if it hasn't been disturbed, but we would have had rain, snow.
Right.
I always thought that was interesting.
I think it's something to do, and do not quote me on this because I'm not an expert, but I think they can, even if there's traces of that scent of death. Yeah. Like, I don't know if it would get in the soil. But then again, like you said,
that's like many years later.
I find it fascinating what these dogs can do, though.
Oh my God, I know. Me too.
Like, it's
I want to follow
incredible.
One around for a day.
I know. It's incredible. So I think it's very likely that they could smell something all these years later.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So on May 29th, investigators learned of the search when the journalist contacted them. So on June 13th, investigators met with the cadaver dog team and visited the site. Police described the terrain as extremely steep and difficult to access, which it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's really difficult terrain. It's a mountain, like it's literally the side of a mountain.
Yeah,
and so I can't even imagine. But it's interesting to me because this search started like an independent search. It wasn't the police that did this search. No. It was the journalist arranged this with the dog.
Yeah,
and then said, hey, to the police. The dog, indicated on that smell of human remains or what have you.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the police that did this initially. They were brought into it, of course, because that's what you do. But they weren't the ones to initiate that, which I thought was interesting.
Interesting. So on June 22nd, the property owner granted permission for investigators to search the area. So obviously somebody owns that area, that property, and they got, permission. And then the RCMP later attended with the medical examiner's office, St. Thomas University's, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Anna, you say it.
Anthropology department.
Thank you. That's one thing you're going to learn about me, people. I pronounce words sometimes incorrectly.
We all do. It's fine. Yeah.
Of course, Acadia University's Earth and Environmental Science Department, and Doug Teift and Teift Canine. So that would be the cadaver dog. Some allegations over the years had suggested Melanson Mountain may be connected to Kenley's disappearance. Because of this, the indication by the cadaver dog generated considerable attention, which it would, because hello, a dog's like indicating there's something there. So I just feel bad because the family's going to know and they're going to like, oh,
I know.
Because there's no closure.
In that hope that this could be it.
Yeah. So August 29th, RCMP announced the outcome. No human remains were found. Investigators also stated there was no evidence suggesting human remains had ever been deposited there.
Right, which,
what did the dog smell?
I know. And I know they're trained, again, I'm not an expert on this, but I know they're trained to differentiate between like what human remains smell like versus like a dead animal.
Right.
So I always wondered because the train changes.
Yeah.
So one question that I always had that, maybe there's an answer for it there, but where it was kind of like, they called them like the bear caves. Yeah. Do you remember that? Like there was some like caves. So if his body was in there.
Yeah.
And the rocks fell down that side of the mountain over time. Like the terrain itself being on the mountain, could that change the access to the area but still pick up a scent?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Because I don't know. I mean, you can't just dig into a mountain.
No.
So when they are searching, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But again, why did the dog...
Anybody that has a cadaver dog, please reach out to us. We have so many questions. So many questions.
And we love them. They're amazing.
Oh, yeah. So, of course, like I said, for the family, that represented hope for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been decades without answers. Kenley Matheson, his sister, described the cadaver's dog's, indication as a miracle.
Oh.
And I mean, that just gets the family's hopes. Like, at this point, what do you think? Is he gone? Is he dead? At this point, the family just wants an answer so they can just stop. Like, is he going to come through the front door tomorrow?
And his mom has said that. She's like, I don't even care about the justice. Like, not that she doesn't care.
No.
But she just wants an answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless of what that answer is.
Yeah, absolutely.
She just wants to know.
I can't even imagine how they feel.
No.
So, of course, the search offered a possibility that investigators might finally discover what happened to her brother. And, of course, her son. Unfortunately, the search did not provide those answers. So, once again, back to square one. And you just got that little bit of hope up.
Yeah.
And then it's just let down again. And I feel so bad for them. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So as of 2026, this is where the case stands today. Kenley remains missing. No remains have been recovered. No suspect has been charged. No definitive explanation has been established. The investigation remains open. So what do we know? Kenley arrived at Acadia September 1992. His last confirmed seen on September 21st, 1992. He disappeared without contacting anyone. His bank account never used again. No remains have been found. No one has been charged. The case remains unsolved.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It is. And it's just like, that's still where we are.
Yep.
I mean, the developments seem so promising and everything, but then it's like, that turned out to be nothing. And then, here we are back to the same timeline. Yeah. Which is really the same as it was in 1992.
Yeah. And once again, there was no cell phones, no social media. So, like what now? Right. So what we don't know is where Kenley went after his last confirmed sighting. Like, where did he go? Whether he met someone that day, whether he died accidentally, whether he died by suicide, was he murdered? Whether later allegations are true, where his remains may be if he is deceased. More than 3 decades have passed since Kenley Matheson walked down Main Street in Wolfville. The question remains unanswered. Someone may still know what happened to him. Until those answers are found, Kenley's disappearance remains one of Atlantic Canada's most enduring cold cases. Anyone with information is encouraged to contact Kings County RCMP at 902-679-5561, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS, or the RCMP Missing Persons Program.
And I think his disappearance is one of the one that's rewards for major unsolved crimes.
Yes.
Here in Nova Scotia as well. So it is on the list of the reward for major unsolved crimes here in Nova Scotia. And the reward is $150,000 if there is some evidence, some information that is brought forward that does lead to an arrest for somebody in this case. If that's what happened.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Harbour podcast.